Welcome to Issues That Matter. I'm Cynthia Pooler. My guest today is Howie Hawkins, who ran on the Green Party line for president 4 years ago. So, Howie, I'm sure you've been watching this unfold. What's your thoughts?
Well, we just had the Iowa caucuses.
Right.
Surprises there. Trump is going to be leading in the Republican primaries.
Mm-hmm.
Whether his legal problems create an obstacle remains to be seen, but I don't know. I think in most of those cases, he's going to be able to delay until the election. And then if he becomes president, he's going to pardon himself, get those charges dropped, and then use the government to go after Democrats who he sees as politically persecuting him for crimes he committed. It's the kind of thing you'd see in a failed state somewhere, where at best they have a facade of democracy, but it's really, out and out. Any means necessary to take power, forget what the people voted for.
So,
Right.
so you and I have been following politics for many years. Did you see anything as crazy as what's going on this election cycle for president?
No, this is worse than it was in 2020 when I ran.
Uh-huh.
The difficulty for me being on the left, independent, was that so many progressive-minded people said, we got to get Trump out of there. And Biden may not be our candidate, but he's not Trump and he can win, so we're going to vote for him. So it's very difficult, to get a word in edgewise. In 2016, it was more open in the sense that it was an open seat. Obama was leaving. And Trump and Clinton were the two most unpopular candidates from major parties in US history. I think we're going to surpass that record this year. When you look at the favorability ratings for Trump and Biden, they're even lower than they were for Trump and Clinton in 2016. So it's gone from bad to worse.
And what would you pin the blame on? Would you blame the Democrats for all this mess?
Well, I blame both parties.
Okay.
The Republicans have become, under Trump, a fascist party. They don't care about democracy of votes. They want to suppress people from voting. They've got cases going before the Supreme Court that would basically prevent the federal government from regulating anything. That case is, I think they're debating it, having hearings on it very soon. It's just an extreme right-wing agenda. And they're authoritarians. Democracy is, they have this slogan, we're a republic, not a democracy. In other words, a republic for the elite to run and not a democracy for the people to choose the leaders. But the Democrats pander to the Republicans. I mean, Biden is the worst. He wants to do bipartisanship with the party that tried to overthrow him. And now we're in a situation where the government is going to shut down tomorrow if they don't, get at least a continuing resolution going to fund it for a few more weeks. And Biden handed them the gun that the Republicans are shooting him with. And that was when he linked the supplemental military aid bill to immigration reform. And the Republicans said, thank you very much. We're going to kill you with this. And that's what the far-right Republicans are doing. And I don't even think they really care about immigration. If it was such a serious crisis, they'd come up with a deal. But for them, it's just a way to scaremonger and divide and conquer. And they'd rather shut the government down than get their draconian immigration policies passed. So, they don't want to govern. They just want power. And Biden doesn't know how to deal with them. He acts as if they're rational people, reasonable people, instead of, mobilizing the public. I mean, on this immigration thing, the Republicans should be ridiculed, like we're being invaded by these migrants. And it's not the case. In fact, we know they talk about crime. Well, immigrants have lower crime rates than native-born Americans. They talk about fentanyl. Fentanyl doesn't come in with these people, swimming across the river or hopping the fence. It comes from people, smuggling it in at checkpoints in their vehicles. So, they're just trying to scare people, and it's a way of mobilizing their vote. And but it's not about the migrants.
Okay, let me ask you this question. You watch it pretty closely, I'm sure. And Biden is not the most um the public doesn't seem to really embrace him. So if Trump is such a big factor, why would the Democrats support Biden again when it's not a winning situation?
Well, again, I think, Biden may be the most naive in trying to work with the Republicans, but the Democrats don't know how to fight the right. Instead of saying, look, Biden is not the best candidate we could put forward. Let's run somebody else. Let's run a younger version of Bernie Sanders.
You
Or
would think.
even a centrist, corporate candidate like Gavin Newsom or Gretchen Whitmer, who doesn't have Biden's liabilities, which are his age, he's gaffe prone. Physically, I mean, when he walks, you can tell he's old. I mean, even Trump, who's just a few years younger, doesn't have that problem. So he's a weak candidate. Plus, he doesn't know how to, counter the Republican narrative. Instead of, ridiculing the Republicans, they're running around like chicken littles, like the migrants are coming to invade us. It's crazy. And you could talk about how he's handling other issues. Instead, he tries to meet the Republicans halfway. And they say, thank you, and then we're going to pull you even more. And he accommodates. So like on this immigration deal, I mean, he's about to abandon the right of people to seek asylum in the United States. I mean, we might as well send the Statue of Liberty back to France.
Mm-hmm. So with two candidates that are really not well liked, how is the Green Party doing this year?
Well, we have good interest. It's probably a little better situation than I faced. There's a lot of sentiment in the public. 63% of the public, according to the last Gallup poll on this question, want a new major third party. The polls show that Jill Stein and Cornel West on the left are getting 1 to 4% each. Tends to be closer to 4% in national polls. Some of the battleground state polls, they have lower percentages. And then Kennedy's getting in the teens. Although I think a lot of those votes are voting for the old Kennedy liberal label, and they're going to realize this Kennedy is a right winger, on immigration, on Israel. And he's a, conspiracy nut on vaccines and some other things. So I think his numbers will go down. So that shows potential, but I think the larger dynamic is still the stronger dynamic. And that is, progressive minded people are going to vote for any damn Democrat to stop Trump. I think that will remain the large dynamic. So we may get more of a vote for the independent left, for the Green Party. But it's, the most we ever got was 2.74% for Ralph Nader in 2000. Under, circumstances, an open seat. We didn't know who George Bush was, or most people didn't. Excuse me, I got a cold. And Clinton, I mean, Gore was carrying on the corporate Clinton legacy. So, Ralph Nader looked like a pretty good alternative, but still, he only got just under 3%. I got 1/3%, 400,000 votes. So that's kind of the range. And so, we may get 1 or 2% on the left, but I think the bigger dynamic is anybody but Bush. But Trump. Like in 2004 was anybody but Bush. So I think that's the way it's going to work out. Unfortunately, what's blocking us is the spoiler problem. Winner take all, single seat elections. And for president, if we had a ranked choice national popular vote, instead of the distorting electoral college, which can give a candidate who gets Second place can make him president, which happened to Bush in 2000, happened to Trump in 2016. That could happen again. And instead of, where are the Democrats? I remember Hillary Clinton, the first news conference she gave after getting elected to the Senate in 2000, after the Bush-Gore fiasco, said she was going to introduce legislation to replace the Electoral College with a popular vote. And then she never introduced it. Dick Durbin had a bill the previous session. He said he would reintroduce it. They didn't reintroduce it. This is the congressional session in 2001 and 2002. It's been 20 years. The only time a Republican has first got elected is by coming in second place, but having the Electoral College install him as president. You would think the Democrats would say, we got a problem here. Let's deal with it. There's a bill in Congress to set up a national popular vote. Just has a few sponsors. Nobody's campaigning for it. So while the Republicans are the anti-democratic drivers of the situation we're in, the Democrats aren't resisting it. They had a HR 1, a voting rights bill. It was their top priority when Biden came in 2021. They didn't get it passed because Biden and the leading Democrats wouldn't take on the filibuster, where the right-wing senators could, block it. So they didn't restore the Voting Rights Act, which was the centerpiece of that legislation. So, how we can't rely on the Democrats to defend our democracy is what I'm saying. And, I would say the positive thing is that we're making advances on ranked choice voting, including proportional ranked choice voting, to get proportional representation of legislative bodies. We have a 27 referendum win streak where ranked choice voting has won in the last 27 times. We've gone from just a couple of jurisdictions in 2000 to about 20 in 2020 to over 50 now. So, to put a positive light on everything, that ranked choice voting is moving forward, and that gets rid of the spoiler problem, which makes it hard for the Greens to get any traction.
So let's talk a little bit about, let's start off talking about Cornel West. He came on like gangbusters, and then all of a sudden he just faded. Has he been doing anything?
Yeah, he's pretty active on the campaign. Like last weekend, he was in Chicago at a summit that Jesse Jackson put together on the Gaza war, and then he spoke at the demonstration on Saturday. No, I'm sorry, Friday he was in Birmingham, Alabama. Oh, wait, anyway, I maybe have the days wrong, but then he was in Birmingham, Alabama to deal with the King birthday, and he was in another place. So he's been traveling around doing events. His problem is he's not going to get on a ballot. He needs millions of dollars because it's just astounding to me that he would make this mistake. He said, "Oh, the Green Party, I got to deal with the primaries and go on talking to Greens in the different states. I just want to talk to the people, so I'm gonna run as an independent." And he didn't figure out that he's not going to get on the ballot that way, except in a few states where it's easy to get on the ballot. Most states it's pretty hard. So, he has a performative style that the media likes. So he is getting interviews, he is getting some coverage, but the problem is he's not going to be on the ballot.
So when he decided not to run as a Green, that's when Jill Stein stepped up. How's she doing?
Well, from what I gather, she's laying the groundwork to get the petitions done. We've got on the ballot now in Arizona and Utah. More petitions are being done. We got enough signatures in South Dakota, which is a state where the Greens have never been on the ballot. Nader never got on, Jill Stein never got on, I didn't get on. But a group of Lakota Indians decided they need an alternative to the Democrats and Republicans. So they've formed a party, they've got the signatures. They're still collecting them because the deadline hasn't come up yet. So there's 3 more states. And the petitions are being gathered in a number of states. Missouri's one. So I think the hardest state is going to be New York. 45,000 signatures in 42 days.
Right.
To take an army of volunteers and paid petitioners. So she'll get on most of the states. New York's going to be the toughest.
Okay, New York, both you and I live in New York. What if what if we want to vote, me and my friends want to vote Green Party, and she's not on the ballot? Do we write her in? What do we do then?
Yeah, she will file for a write-in if she doesn't get on the ballot by petition. So
Okay,
be able to write her in.
okay, that's good to know. And with all of the problems this country faces, I can't understand why you guys really haven't gotten more traction.
Well, I think we've got more traction than a lot of people realize. I mean, we have 141 or 42 elected officials around the country. They're local offices, city councils, town councils, mayors, school boards, which shows that, there is a base of support for our platform. You look at public opinion polling, Medicare for all, Green New Deal, tax the rich, student debt relief. Our platform is more popular than the Democrats. And that's why the Democrats try to keep us off the ballot, because they know that too.
Okay, okay. So, um, the caucus for Iowa was just the other day, and Trump ran away with it. What do you foresee going down the line as this whole election process evolves?
I think Trump will be the Republican nominee, even if he's convicted of a felony, by the time they have their convention. They're going to live or die by him. Probably die. I think he has a core of Republican support. It's 35% of the population. But most independents, they're sick of this guy and not just his criminal activity, but his bombast and divisiveness. So, even old Joe Biden can probably beat Trump. That's what I think. But Trump is, doing things to undermine himself, like giving unconditional support to Israel as they commit all this slaughter in Gaza, is alienating Arab Americans, Muslim Americans, young people, progressives. A lot of people right now are saying they're not going to vote for Biden. But I
Right.
think, when push comes to shove, it's Biden or Trump who's even worse on Gaza and everything else. So I think Biden can stumble into another term.
Okay, so you're saying that more or less Trump is pro-Israeli. So if Trump is pro-Israeli and the Democrats are pro-Israeli, Kennedy is pro-Israeli. Where's the support for the Palestinians besides Jill? Is
But
it is
Cornel
it
West.
only Jill?
Huh?
Okay.
Well, people are going to vote for Jill because they're upset with what the U.S. is doing with respect to Israel. And, its policies, not just this genocidal war in Gaza, but, supporting Israel as they expand the settlements, the occupation, and strengthen their apartheid policies, the wall and the checkpoints and the discriminatory laws. A lot of people are, upset with that. And they're at the point where they're not going to vote for Biden or Trump. And that's where Jill Stein will get a bump. But, whether it's 1% or 2%, I think that's probably in the range where it's going to be. It could go higher, but still it's going to be, I think, a Trump Biden race.
So if people don't like either Trump or Biden and they don't know too much about Jill, you think that the percentage of people not voting this year will be high?
Yeah, if they're voters and they don't like Trump or Biden and they don't know about Jill Stein and her positions, a lot of them, yeah, will stay home, abstain. But I think, for those paying attention, they'll find out about Jill Stein. She has enough of a media profile, and you know, when she's on the ballot and they start looking at the competitive states and they'll worry that she's taking votes from Biden and then she's going to be the spoiler. That will give her a platform in the media. And hopefully she can use that platform to, you know, I would urge her to turn it around on Biden. You know, she has the solution to the spoiler problem, and that's a national popular vote using ranked choice voting. Will Biden join her in pushing for that? And if he doesn't, he's perpetuating the spoiler problem, not Jill Stein.
Mhm.
I would go on the offensive, and you know, even when I'm not asked about it, I would bring it up. It's like we got a spoiler problem so that people don't feel comfortable voting for their first choice because they're worried about helping their worst enemy. And you know, people tell Jill, you know, don't run, you're gonna split the vote, you know, the progressive, the center left vote. And she should say, well, we got a solution to that problem. And the Democrats aren't embracing it. And they should. And that's, you know, that should be a major issue in this campaign.
So we have a few months until, you know, the conventions and stuff. So would you come back on issues that matter and give your take on what's going on as this whole process unfolds?
Sure, be happy to.
Okay, great. You've been listening to Howie Hawkins, former Green Party presidential candidate. I'm Cynthia Pooler. This is Issues That Matter. And if you like this show, please subscribe to my YouTube channel. Howie, thank you so much for being on the show. And thank you, everybody, for listening. Have a great day.